And how come none of you motherfuckers can come to life? What kind of bullshit is that? So Puppet Master tells the story of a group of psychics who go to this mysterious hotel to find out the secrets of this long-dead puppeteer, and then the creations of this puppeteer come to life and start enacting some bloody carnage. Alright guys, this review of Puppet Master is brought to you by Michael Knoll, one of my patrons. He requested that I do Puppet Master. I have never seen this franchise before, and I was shocked to find out that there is 12 of these damn things. So I bought the Blu-ray of the first 3. I have no idea what to expect from this movie whenever I put it in. I didn't know if the first one was the best one, or maybe one of the sequels is the more hailed of the franchise, but anyway, I walked into this with complete blind eyes, so thank you, Michael, for the recommendation, for your support on Patreon, and here's my review of Puppet Master. So right off the bat, the introduction, the first 5 or 10 minutes of this movie really sucked me in and really intrigued me on what I was about to experience with Puppet Master. Basically, you had this guy, I believe his name is pronounced Tulin, who is this puppet master who has some kind of mystic powers where he can bring his puppets to life. He's putting the finishing touches on his newest creation. One of his creations, Blade, is doing like some reconnaissance work around this hotel in POV mode, sees these Nazi spies are coming up into the hotel to come and get Tulin, goes back, basically gives him some kind of a warning silently, and then Tulin, right as the Nazis come in, after he has finished his creation and tucked away his puppets into the wall where nobody can find them, blows his head off, and now we have our movie Puppet Master. Whoa, that's a way to introduce you. And one of the reasons why that introduction and why the characters themselves really intrigued me in this movie was just the overall creation of these puppets. These are silent characters. It's not like Chucky where they have this really egotistical or this really charismatic performance or voice acting behind them. They're literally just stop motion creations. You have Blade, who kind of has like a fedora and a black suit and a little hook and a knife and everything like that. Then you got Pinhead, who's this hulking body with a tiny little head, and there's a lot of really creative and unique designs in these puppets, and they're kind of silently giving their own kind of personality in this movie. You got Blade, who has a really big personality. You have Pinhead. You got the Leech Girl, or whatever the hell they call her. I don't remember her name. All these puppets, even though they don't have a voice, stand alone amongst each other, and they all have their own kind of unique feel to them. Whenever you see a scene with Blade or a scene with Pinhead, they kind of have their unique feel to them, and that was really creative to me. I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought that was kind of a feat all on its own that you can bring silent characters to life like that. And I will say that throughout the runtime, it never really lost my attention because I never really knew where the story was going. I wasn't sure if this was going to be a straight-up slasher movie where the puppets are the killer. I wasn't sure if this was going to turn into something where they're like these unsung heroes that just look like the villains. I wasn't sure if there was going to be some huge reveal at the end where Tulin's alive and he's manipulating them with his mind. I had no idea where this movie was going, and that kept me interested throughout. Unfortunately though, luckily it kept me interested with that intrigue because the stuff that they actually do give you in the meat of the story involving these psychics in this hotel did not interest me one bit. Once that introduction was over, I felt like the movie and its pace and its intrigue level took a giant nosedive aside from just my curiosity of where things were going to go. And I attribute a lot of that to the fact that just the characters themselves, these psychics, these characters that we actually get voices and performances from and actually get to know, they're not interesting characters at all. They're not intriguing. You don't like any of them. You don't root for any of them. The acting is horrendous. Keep in mind, this is a 1989 straight-to-DVD movie, and it totally feels like something that came out in the 90s. This feels like a 1990s soap opera TV movie, which is not a good thing at all. This is the most 90s feeling 80s movie I've ever seen.
You're hurting me! Clarissa, stop it!
And ultimately that just ended up being a big disappointment because my curiosity and my intrigue with what these puppets were going to end up doing kept me interested enough to not turn away, but everything that I was stuck watching just didn't really do anything for me. I didn't really care if any of these people died. I didn't care what their ultimate end game was. I didn't care about who was going to survive in the end, even when there's this big reveal of the ultimate villain and his motivations, all of that. I was just like, ugh, whatever. Now, I'll admit right up front, a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that this movie is a movie that probably banks on nostalgia to be something that you love. Like, certainly there's some movies that I love and hold very close to my heart that had I never seen them before and I watched them for the first time tonight, I might hate them or not really get the appeal of them at all, but the fact that I watched them back in the day and watched them with a certain perspective, a certain eye, they have a certain bit of love and nostalgia for me, and I see through the flaws and just enjoy the movie for what it is. Unfortunately, this is one of those movies that I think I just saw way too late in life to get that experience from. All I saw was the flaws for the most part, aside from the few things that I did enjoy, and it's just not really a movie that I understand the appeal for, certainly not enough to merit 12 sequels. Or 11 sequels. One of those two. A fucking lot. And the one thing that could have brought this movie up quite a bit for me was if they had some really creative or some really gory kills, but even that side of the movie I just felt kind of laughable. Like, you have these little tiny puppets that are literally like this big, even some of them in scenes are literally getting swatted across the room. And it's almost comedic and pathetic to the point that these people are getting killed by these dolls so easily in ways that aren't really all that gory or interesting or really all that well executed on camera. There's even one scene where you have one puppet that has a drill head, I think they call him Tunneler, and he's going at a woman. It's one of those POV shots where the camera's going at her, and it's going at her for such a long time, you're like, bitch, move! And the other thing that I couldn't really get out of my head, which I admit is a 100% complete guilty bias on my end because I'm such a huge Child's Play fan, the puppeteering and the stop motion, a lot of the effects I felt were not impressive at all, even for the time, because when I know this movie came out in 1989, the same year the original Child's Play came out, and the effects in Child's Play are just leaps and bounds and light years better and more effective and more terrifying than anything that they executed in this movie, in my opinion. So I can't even really forgive it for having older effects and having some dated effects, because even at the time, they were inferior effects. So even on that end, it's kind of like, you're not really succeeding here. So all in all, guys, obviously I was not a very big fan of this movie. I thought that it really had a great opening, a really intriguing opening. I thought that the puppets were charismatic enough in their stop motion performances to make me like each individual one and make me want to see what's going to happen with their story. And it definitely kept me intrigued throughout, even though what was on screen was not intriguing, just to find out where all this was going to end. But by the time it ended, I felt cheated. I felt like I kind of waded through all of that for nothing. There wasn't really anything at the end of this movie that merited me watching 90 minutes of a movie that I really wasn't enjoying past the first 10. So ultimately, can't recommend that you go and see this one, especially if you've never seen any of the Puppet Master movies before and you're going into this with fresh eyes in 2017 like I was, because I don't see you really liking it too much. But I will say, I am willing to give the Puppet Master franchise another shot. If you fans of the Puppet Master franchise, including you, Michael, sound off down below. Which of the Puppet Master movies are the best? Is it the first one? Is it the second one? The third one? The 8th? The 9th? The 15th? Which one is the one that fans hail as the best? Maybe this is a Child's Play and a Child's Play 2 situation where the sequels get it so much more right, and I'll really like that one, and I'd be more than happy to do a review of one of those movies. So sound off down below, let me know which one is the best, and hopefully it's not the first one. So if you're into killer toy movies, I don't think this one is anywhere near the cream of the crop. I think this movie had a lot of misses. It had some intrigue, it had some interesting characters, some interesting stop motion characters with the puppets, but beyond that, it was kind of a dredge to get through, and I don't plan on watching this movie again. So if you've never seen Puppet Master, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to recommend you skip it. So what do you guys think of Puppet Master? Are you a fan of this movie or this franchise? Which is the best one? That's the biggest question I'd like to get answered in the comment section below. Do you agree with some of my criticisms, or do you feel like you are just somebody that saw this back in the day and you have that love and nostalgia for this movie that unfortunately I just think I'm incapable of having this late in life? Put all of your thoughts on Puppet Master, the franchise, and which one is the best in the franchise down in the comment section below, guys, and we'll talk about it. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. If you want to check out some of my social media links, I've got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter down in the video description below, including the link to my Patreon page, which is the whole reason this video exists, because of awesome people like Michael who have decided to financially contribute to this channel, help it grow, help support what I do. And honestly, I cannot show my gratitude enough for Michael and all the rest of my patrons, because you guys are honestly the blood that keeps this channel pumping. Because as difficult as it's been, especially lately, to be successful on YouTube and to get actually any kind of compensation or any kind of means to justify the ends with all the work that goes into a YouTube channel, it's awesome people like you that keep the blood pumping in my channel and lots of channels like it. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for all of your help, all your support. If you guys want to join in on the fun and check out all the perks and the rewards as far as my Patreon goes, check out that link down here, or just go to patreon.com/CodyLeach if you want to check out some of my other videos. As always, you can check those out by clicking right over here.